think this is our 9th session, and six topics. So far we have discussed about the objectives of the central bank, the functions and operations of the central bank. And in our early discussions that we always focus on the key areas of key responsibilities of the central bank: maintain economic and price stability and maintain financial system stability. So I hope that you slide presentation. So the topic for the day is impact of central bank operations on the economy. Right? So that we saw what are the functions of the central bank. So today we are, and also we saw at the time that we discussed about the activities of different type of department of the central bank. All these activities are directly or indirectly relating to achieve the objectives of the key objectives of the central bank. So today our focus is on how these activities or the operations of the central bank is impact on the economy. Okay, so that is objective of today's lesson. So how the operations relating to these co-objectives of the central bank impact on the economy. Okay, so let's see. Okay. So we already discussed that central bank is the apex institution, so that it has some unique kind of functions. Okay, so with respect to the financial system of the nation, and also we saw that it is entrusted with the responsibilities of maintaining secure and efficient monetary, financial and payment and settlement system. So basically here you can see in this system aspects are there, and also that responsibility, that those responsibilities have been given to we discuss about the Monetary Law Act as well. So you can see here that these responsibilities are relevant to the monetary system, financial system and the payment and settlement system. So three types of systems are there. So that the responsibility of the central bank is to maintain the security of those systems and also to ensure the efficiency of these systems. Why? To facilitate economic agents to carry out their economic plans as per the expectations of those economic agents, and also they need to act with the confidence. So we are going to see why that the confidence is needed and how these activities of the central bank facilitate those economic agents. Okay, that's we are planning to discuss today. So here again I have mentioned that it is primary functions to provide the legal tender money. So we saw that the central bank is the has the sole authority to provide legal tender, the money or issue currency note and coins into this system, and also to facilitate payment and settlement. So I told you that with respect to the payment and settlement system also, the central bank works as the key regulator. We saw that there are some other institutions as well in the system. Some of the financial institutions are regulated by some other authorities, but we saw that the role of the commercial banks and the financial institutions are very prominent, especially the commercial banks' role is we can see that the dominance, right? So that we can identify the central bank as the key financial sector regulator in the country. So now we are going to discuss how the operations of the central banks impact on the economy. Okay, So how can the price stability and financial stability deliver that a very conducive environment for the economic agents to take their decisions. So in this session that we explore about these two main concepts, and also we are going to check the characteristics of each objectives, that there are two main objectives, so that we can see. So when we are discussing these facts, that we can understand how the operations relating to these co-objectives of the central bank impact on the economy. And one more thing that I have to mention, why then one can ask why central bank is having these responsibilities, why not any other institution? Because we can take these two stability objectives like public goods. You know the characteristics of the public goods. The public good means that all the entire nation or the economy is going to be benefit by having that stability there in the society as a whole, that we all are going to be benefited out of that stability in the system, but no one individually is interested in achieving those objectives. No one is going to take the responsibility at individual level, but when there is a stability, we all are going to be benefited. So that's why as the apex institution, so the central bank is having that responsibility, so that we can understand that these two or the twin stability concepts are like public goods. Okay, so that okay, then let's see the first one. Okay, so here you can see there is another statement. It says that maintaining a stable and reliable monetary and financial environment along with an efficient and reliable system of payment and settlement that is conducive for economic agents to manage their resources efficiently, so that they can make feasible plans according to their expectation and execute them effectively with confidence. So you can see there are some particular set of word is there. So basically, when there is a stability, it always helps people to take decisions. Okay, we are going to discuss how it will happen. Okay, here it says that the economic agents to manage their resource efficiently, so that they can make feasible plans according to their expectation and execute their plans with the confidence. Okay, so let's see how it is happening. Okay, basically you can see when we go to the first objective, it is a price stability. Okay, so the price stability, actually you know that it is relating to the money. Okay, so the price stability is more a macroeconomic concept. I hope that you may have already learned about money and money, and I think that economics of money and monetary policy is one of the compulsory course you have to take under this diploma. So I hope that some of you have already done the subject and given the exams, but some of you have to take that subject. So anyhow, that I try my best to give you the overall understanding of this concept, but here our focus is to discuss about the operations of the central bank, right? But not to discuss everything. But when you have the basic understanding, it is easy for you to understand. But anyhow, let's see how we can manage. Or anyhow, the next session, our next session is on the monetary policy. So at that under that session also, that we are going to discuss in detail, and you will get more familiar with those concepts. But anyhow, okay, so I think better you have to have the overall understanding, because in the past papers also sometimes it has been questioned how this responsibilities or the functions of the central banks help facilitating the economic agents likewise. So that's why this topic that we have selected to discuss here. So again, back into the topic. So the price stability, that we know that price stability, again, it relates with the inflation, concepts of inflation. So it is a key economic indicator, okay, or the macroeconomic variable in this subject. So what it refers to, that the inflation or the price stability, these are actually relating to the general perception of the people. Okay, so that we all have kind of a perception with respect to the movement of prices of goods and services in general. Right? The behavior of prices in the past, at present, and also in the near future, these all are associated with our perceptions. So if prices are rising fast, okay, at a very high decrease, what will happen? It will create a very unpredictable environment where the economic agents, they feel that it is very difficult to take decisions with respect to managing their resources. Okay, we are going to examine some examples later, so you will understand. Even we all are consumers. Okay, economic segments are there. The consumers are there, producers are there, investors are there. Okay, and also that in between these different economic agents, that the market mechanism is there in place to connect all these segments of an economy. So anyhow, that even you are a businessman or an investment, we all are consumers. So we can understand when there is a high prices are there. If there is a trend in price increases in a fast magnitude, that it is kind of a disturbance for our consumption patterns. So we are not just because of the high prices, even when we are going to decide on what to consume or whether to consume at that time, or if it is not a very necessary thing, that we can even postpone our consumption needs. Okay, so likewise, that it is we are in a environment where it's difficult to take our decisions. Okay, so accordingly, that we can understand that price stability is somewhat important. Okay, and also we can define the price stability. That here you can see in the next slide that we have defined the price stability. So before that, let's see what I've mentioned in the slide here. So that actually here that you can see the macro picture. So the money is the most important component here when it comes to the price stability, that we have to think about the money, right? So we know what is money. Okay, it is kind of the means of payment that we all use money. Okay, but if we cannot manage it prudently, okay, then what will happen? Here, it is actually the national level picture, not at the individual level picture. As a country, okay, that we all know now that the central bank is having the sole authority to issue currency, the money. Okay, at the same time, the central bank is having the responsibility to maintain the price stability. Okay, so that if money is not going to be managed prudently, what will happen? It affects the smooth functioning of the economy, depriving it from achieving sustainable growth through efficient allocation of resources. So this is what actually can happen at the macro level. Okay, so that I will explain you how it will happen. So we can just take an individual level example and see. Okay, so then we can apply it at a broad level to the macro level. Okay, so that's why the central bank has to shoulder that responsibility of maintaining price stability. Okay, so that state of low and stable rate of inflation that does not as per their expectation. Uh, we all have a limited resources or the money. Okay, so that you have to allocate your limited resources in a particular manner or the way that you have planned. Okay, so but you can understand what is the relationship between the price and the that money you have. That if you have more, it doesn't matter, even you have enough money, more than enough money to spend, but if you have a limited resources, that you have to allocate it in a most suitable way, okay, to maximize your utilities, so that by consuming something that you are having kind of a satisfaction, right? That's not the ultimate objective. So that you have to think whether to buy this one or whether not to buy this one, because the price is very high, so it is not worth to buy this wood at this time, so let's wait and see in the future until the price will get down. Likewise, that you can postpone your decision. Let's see. Okay, so that okay, so we were discussing about the consumption, and so now we can say the price stability is more macroeconomic concept. As I said, that it is macroeconomic, means that it is a concept which impact on all the economic activities of the country. Okay, so that is why it is a macroeconomic concept. It refers to the general perception of people. The general perception means not only one person, two person, or a group of person. It is a macroeconomic concept, means that it impact on all the people in a country. So it refers to the general perception of people. Okay, so that you have to understand that price stability is of the people. Okay, so the behavior of prices in the I already told you that in the past, at the present, and also in the near future, that associated with our perceptions. Okay, so if prices are rising fast at different degrees, so what will happen? That it disturbs the economic cages. Okay, so that I already mentioned that. Okay, so accordingly that we can see here. See, so now we are going to see why the price stability is important. Now we know that when there is a price instability, means that there is a high volatilities in the general price level, it can disturb decision making process of any of the economic agents of a country. Okay, so if prices are rising fast with high volatility, it is extremely difficult for us to project our future cash flow, what it is. Okay, I'll try to explain it further. Uh, so that first you have to understand this, that price stability, not only the price stability, the financial stability also. These are the two key objectives of the central bank now, so that they are relating to our daily economic activities. Okay, what is our objective of our life is to be well-being, to have more prosperous kind of life. Okay, we all by daily basis, we all are doing everything to have a prosperity in a very sustainable level, that we need to be well off for a long term, not only for today or tomorrow, but we need to achieve that prosperity for a long term basis. That's what the objective of each and every individuals. So then the next thing that we have to think is how we can achieve that prosperity in our life, right? We know that in order to achieve our objectives, we all need to have a sustainable flow of resources, especially some financial resources to meet our requirement. That's why we are studying, we are doing our jobs and all. Okay, so this is the common phenomena for all individual, institution, and also as a nation. It is the common objective. Okay, as an individual, we all think that the way that we can have more resources to be well off, in the same way that institution or a nation also in the same with the same aspirations. So, however, we know that it is not simple as we think. In real life, that we all know, as an individual or as a nation, we need to generate more income. Okay, so how we need to utilize all the possible resources, and we need to generate income in a sustainable way. Then only we can achieve that aspirations. Okay, so that is why we need to have an environment that where all the people that we have to engage in various type of economic activities. Okay, so in order to generate income, to be well off. Okay, so but the that resources that we need to utilize in the most efficient and effective way. Okay, so that's why these stability objectives are important. Okay, so that let's see that here it discussed about something about the cash flow, right? So that's why I wanted to give you an example to understand this. Here it says that the price, when the prices are increasing, if we can predict what will happen in the future, yes, it is somehow it is good. But if there is no control over the prices, means that it can be go up and down all the time with high frequencies. So it has a impact. That bad influence is there. It is very difficult to project our future cash flows. Means that we don't know what is the real value of the next cash flow. That we all have a kind of a cash flow, right? So that monthly basis or a weekly basis that you are having some income. Okay, in parallel that you have some expenses as well. Okay, but with price changes, that you cannot do everything that you want. Because why? That when the price levels are increasing, that you know that you cannot buy everything you want. There is limitations. Yeah, right. Okay, it is actually from the perspectives of the customer, but for the businesses also it can affect. Okay, so imagine that if you are going to start with a business. Okay, what is actually the objective? To have more profit in the future, right? If you are going to start a business, you are just not going to jump and select this is the business like that. That first you are going to think what would be the most profitable business. So that normally we know that all the businesses in our life, right? That all the businesses may not only the production process or something, whatever the actions or the decisions that we are taking in our life are always associated with some type of risks. When it comes to the commercial type or a business, that always that there are some risks are there. right? And also sometimes that uncertainty, type of uncertainty is also there. Okay, so first, that's why you need to decide what you should do. Okay, so even today, that that now at present that we are living in a very unusual situation with this health pandemic, that we know that we all are in a very uncertain environment. Okay, we don't know what will happen next. That hopefully, with the rollout of vaccinations, that we hope that everything will be all right. Right, we will be back into normalcy as soon as possible. That all of our wishes, but anyhow, that we know that our level of uncertainty is high, not like in the past under normal circumstances. Okay, so that that when you are going to start up a business, that these elements are there: uncertainty. So to expect something by doing the best, the outcome is, it is very difficult to predict. So that when a real businessman that he is going to start up a new business, what he is going to do first, that he is going to predict or the project the future income. Okay, so in order to do that, right, the sense of certainty about the outcome of the project should be there. That there should be kind of a confidence level. That confidence should be there in order to start up with a business. So if that confidence is not there, means that even the consumers, producers, or investors, that they are not going to execute their plans. Because always that we are, again that sound is coming, I'm sorry. So always we always take decisions to have some benefits in our life. If we are not having the confidence that the expected benefit will be realized by taking these decisions, so we think twice or more than that before going to take that decisions. Especially the businesses and the producers and the investors. Normally we know that in the production process, that the producers, that they have to take some decisions, what to produce, how to produce. Okay, so that when there is no certainty, if the uncertainty is high, that normally we know that almost all the decisions will postpone by the producers and investors. That's what really happened at the moment. That's what we can see today in the real world also, that we can see not only in Sri Lanka. So it is all around the world today. This is the environment. So the uncertainty is really high. If the majority in the society is having such an uncertainty, so they will change into a mode where they are not going to execute any of their plans. They are just going to wait and see. It is called the wait and see mode. So what will happen to the economy then? Almost all the activities in the economy will be suspended, no? So that we can see that in overall, that we can see there is a slowdown in the economy. Okay, so that's what actually happened today. In Sri Lanka also, you can see that normally people are not going to take that much of critical decisions. They are just surviving. The business people also just running their businesses just to survive. They are not going to take any that big decisions, because that risk level is high, plus the uncertainty. Normally we know that in any type of business there is a risk associated with that, and so the businessmen know that there is a risk, and also some measures are there to mitigate the risks, right? That's why they are having contracts with the parties that they are doing their businesses, and they are making all the payments through the financial institutions, any credit risk, in order to mitigate any credit risks. Likewise, that there are different measures that they can have, but the uncertainty is something else, that it is very difficult and sometimes beyond their control. Okay, so that people, when they are having such uh, mal-feelings, right? So they have no enthusiasm to do or start with their uh, businesses. So the investors also like that. We saw that how the global financial markets badly influenced due to coronavirus outbreak. So we saw that in the here in Sri Lankan financial market also, that we saw the same trends. But time to time we saw some improvements are here and there. But we can see in overall that that much of an impact was there because of that uncertainty. Okay, so if the situation gets worse, people would panic, and the economic momentum, that it slow down, and ultimately that in overall that economy can be stagnate, means that it is not going to happen anything, that no growth at all. The growth level can be zero. We experience a minus growth rates, right? In the past year. So hopefully that we hope that we can gradually move into a slower upward trend, right? But still we saw that there was a very negative process pushing the economy into a very down level. Okay, not only in Sri Lanka, most of the countries around the world, they experience the same conditions. So that they all experience that a very significant slowdown was there in the global level. Okay, so now here our focus is on the price stability. So now we are going to examine how the movement of prices of goods and services influence the people's activities, decisions. Okay, that I already told you, when you are going to start a business, that the first thing that you do is to assess the viability of the business, which means the how you are going to assess the viability. I hope that you have done this part under the before the diploma, that you have done the intermediate level course, that I can't remember exactly what is the subject, but I saw that there is a particular subject where you have to calculate the present and future cash flows and all. So normally, when a business person, before going to start a business, he assess the viability of the business. Okay, we take that what we have to do, we have to take the present value of the future net cash flows. Net cash flow means that cash inflows and the outflows, that difference between that. And then he can compare among the alternate projects. If he is going to do business A, this will be the net cash flow in the future. So he is going to take the present value of it, right? Likewise, that you can compare possible, and then you will end up with the decision. This is the product I'm going to, it's like that. So if it is relatively, let's say that, so if let's say that there is a price increasing, okay, that prices are rising fast with a higher volatility. So then what will happen? It is extremely difficult for that person to project the future cash flows. Right? That is, it is very uncertain situation where he cannot predict. So if the price level changes are at predictable level, yes, there is no issue. But if there is a high fluctuations that we normally know, the inflation, that price levels that normally we measure using inflation. Inflation, you know that what is the inflation, right? That inflation is actually it is kind of a price index that we use to measure inflation. We use basket of goods. Basically in Sri Lanka, that we use two type of indices: Colombo Consumer Price Index and National Consumer Price Index. So using that, when there is any changes, you can see that index value is going up and down, right? By that, if the magnitude changes are low, it is all right. But there is a high fluctuations that it is very difficult to predict what will, because there is always a pattern there. So normally we always take decision based on our past experiences. That at the beginning I told you, that is, this is all about the perceptions of the people. So it depends on your experience. So if you have experience that in the past that there was no that much of a higher volatility in the prices, in the present also there is no high volatility in the prices, so that you will predict there is no high fluctuation in the future as well. Likewise, that you predict. So based on your perception, again it will impact on the overall price level. Why I am telling that? Let's say that if you think, if you believe that based on the past and present experience, if you think that there is a trend for the prices to be increased, then what will you do? You demand more goods at present. Okay, so the demand will increase. So because of that increase in the demand, definitely in the future that overall prices will increase. Likewise, that we can understand the relationships in between the perception of the people and the general price level. Also can happen. So always the inflation, that concept is giving kind of a signals for the people to make their decisions. That's what the overall idea. That's why it is very important to maintain it at a low and stable level. This is the overall story actually. Okay, so here that I've mentioned that I think that low inflation is associated with low volatility and high inflation is associated with higher volatility, right? So inflation is the indicator which measures the price changes in an economy. Okay, so that that's now you can understand why it is important to maintain the price stability. So the price stability is that maintaining the price, the overall price level at low and stable level. So it is the inflation rate. So when the inflation rate is at a particular level, which means there is no high volatility, okay, so that no high inflation, no low inflation. Either it is going to be high or low, it is a problem. Sometimes you may think if it is a matter if there is a high inflation, but if there is a low inflation, again it's a matter. Why? That producers are not willing to have low prices. Okay, so that's why that high inflation or low inflation is not good. If there is a very huge trend to go upward or downward, both trends are not good. Okay, so that's why the inflation should be maintained at a low and a stable level. Okay, so that I think I have already mentioned in the class what is the objective, what is the objective of the central bank with respect to the level of inflation that I already mentioned you. I think that to maintain the inflation at a mid-single rate, nearly that when you go and check in the central bank official website, you can see that the monthly basis that central bank is updating the inflation and also give some predictions, and also that in the index that you can see monthly basis how the inflation has been changed over years how it has been changed. Likewise, that you can see the trend in inflation. At present, now we are experiencing a what it is not actually a high inflation, but we can observe that inflation is increasing, right, at a manageable level is there yet. That's why very recently, after a long time of period, that central bank uh, tightened the monetary policy because of that. Because now we have to expect that there is a increasing trend in the inflation that we are going to discuss later. Because before the exam, that you have to study all the what critical policy measures have been taken by the central bank, because that very recently, after I think because of the pandemic, central bank significantly that what it that cut down the policy interest rate. Okay, so that is the monetary policy at a very substantial level because of the pandemic. And those policy rates, that low policy rates were there for a long time period. After the monetary policy, after the topic of monetary policy, I will show you all the measures that have been taken by the central bank, and we can discuss in detail, because probably the last press release on the monetary policy decisions that you can download and check, that probably it will be that there will be a question on that, hopefully, that because I saw in past papers also, if there is any kind of a specific type of policy measures have been taken by the central bank, it was asked in the question paper. So this time, the last the monetary policy change is also somewhat important because that's changed monetary policy. So we will discuss. Okay. So anyhow, that I just want to tell you the situation of inflation in the country. So you can see that inflation trend. Time permits, I will show you that the latest press release relating to the inflation, that we can see that sometimes they have included tables and all, that we can easily see the trend of inflation. So accordingly, that central bank has to take measures to tame, to control the inflation. Okay, so anyhow, that now you know the why the price stability is important. Okay, so that's why the central bank needs to maintain it at low and stable level. Okay, then only it is not going to interfere or disturb the consumption, production, and investment plan of the rational economic agents. Here, the rationale, what is the meaning of rationale? That in theories, especially in economics theories, that we always assume that all the economic agents behave rational, means that they are going to respond to the macroeconomic variables. They are going to respond to the price changes and all. So accordingly, that they take their decision in a rational manner, right? Sometimes we know that all the people are not behave in a rational way, where they are just going to spend without having any knowledge or any concern about the price level changes or the interest or what is the real value of the money and all that. But normally, that when people have limited resources to facilitate with their unlimited wants and needs, that they have to be rational, or otherwise that they cannot be satisfied, right? So that's why here that rational word has been used here. So you can see that at the end of this slide, that you can see that the definition for the price stability, a state of predictably low and stable inflation, which means that it should be at a low and stable level. But it doesn't mean that the inflation is something that should be going to be at a same level for a longer period. That is another thing that you have to understand, that inflation, it can be that volatility should be there, because if it is going to be stagnate for a longer time, that inflation, it is again not good. Why? That there are some segments in the society or the economy that who are going to be encouraged with price movements, right? For the consumers, actually, we would like to have lower prices. Okay, so when there is a price changes, only actually we are going to be motivated to take our decisions. Let's say that if there is no any change at all, right? So that people behave in the same manner, right? When there are some changes in the inflation, that it is kind of signals that it is giving. So when there is a high prices, that there is a high trend is there for the inflation to increase, that people behave in a different manner. The producers and consumers and investors, they all are behave in a particular manner. So it will it will influence the economic activities. Okay, so likewise that stability, it doesn't mean that inflation is not going to change or remains at the same level. No, it is not. The stability means that a state where low and stable inflation, that inflation can change, but at a lower level. Okay, so the stable inflation and also at a predictable level. So that it is not going to disturb the economic agents' plans. Okay, so that they can execute their plans with confidence. That's what it means. Okay, hope that now you can understand. Okay, so then we are going to look into the monetary policy and inflation. So now we know that the inflation is a macroeconomic concept which is influence on decisions or the activities of the economic agents. When there is low and stable and predictable level inflation is there, it is important for the economic agents to take their decisions and active accordingly. They have to act accordingly. Okay, so that when they act like that, the economy will work. If they are not going to take their decisions or they are going to postpone their decisions, that there is a bad impact on the overall functions of the economy. So that's why the central bank needs to maintain the inflation at a low and stable level. So in order to control inflation at low and stable level, that central bank use the monetary policy. Okay, so then what is the monetary policy? That we know that the central bank, being the sole authority of issuing legal tender, issue money into the circulation. Okay, so that monetary policy, what actually the objective of the monetary policy to control the supply of money. It deals with the money. Okay, it represents the power of that. Here it is another story. The money, okay, money is actually linked with the inflation. So now we are going to see how the monetary policy is going to control inflation. There should be a link, no? Right? Like that, there is a kite. So kite is in the sky. So that in order to control the kite, that there should be someone in the ground, but there should be a link, right? That link should be there, or otherwise that there is no way that that person can control the kite, right? So now we have to understand how the way that the central bank controlled inflation. Inflation is linked with money. Okay, that's what we are going to see here. The purchasing power. Purchasing power. What is purchasing power? Purchasing power. That money always give you the purchasing power. Okay, so yeah. Under the monetary policy topic that I have given you a slide. Okay, so then you will understand more this concept. So the money always represents the purchasing power of a person to have goods and services from the market. Okay, so this is the first thing that you have to understand. Money represents the power of purchasing, or the purchasing power. So that purchasing power, when you have the purchasing power, means that you can demand. You can demand for goods and services, means that you can go to the market and buy goods and services. So in the market, in order to determine the price in the market, that we know, not only the demand, but there is a supply side factors as well. So the demand side factors are there, supply side factors are there. Both together determine the, we are normally tell that it is the equilibrium price. So in the market. Okay, so the demand and supply together determine the price of the market. So here we are not going to just consider about a price of a one good or a service here, that we take the aggregate price, which means that overall price level, which is like the inflation, that it is not relevant to the price of a one particular good or a service, right? Inflation is the price of price changes. Actually, it represents the price changes of a basket of good. Okay, so that normally the central bank, when there is the inflation, means that the overall prices are changing. Not central bank is not going to change the monetary policy in response to price changes in one particular good. Okay, so that that's what you have to understand, because that inflation is, as I told you, it is a macroeconomic concept. So it is the target of the central bank to control the inflation, not the price of a particular good or a service. Okay, if there is a change in overall price level, so that we can see that inflation, that Colombo Price Index or the NCPI, that we can see the changes. Accordingly, the central bank is going to take decisions, not because of changes in one particular good. Okay, so that we can see here in the market, the overall prices change because of the demand side factors and the supply side factors. Okay, but here we saw that the money it represents the purchasing power. So that purchasing power means that when you have the purchasing power, means that it is going to represent the demand side. That means that purchasing represents the demand side. When you are going to purchase something, means that you are going to demand in the market for goods and services. So that purchasing represents the demand side. So now you can understand the link between the money, purchasing power, and the demand. When you have more money, there is a higher purchasing power for you. Okay, when there are more money in the market, purchasing power of the people are high. So they demand more and more goods and services. So what will happen if the demand is increasing? It will push the prices up. Why? That the other thing that you have to understand here is that supply side factors. So when you demand more, if the suppliers can supply the same increasing quantities of the demand, the price will not change. But we normally know the supply, in order to increase the supply, it will take some time. Okay, so you know that. If we take some agricultural good, that you know that you have to grow something, it takes time. Even in the factory made good also, that it will take some time. So, but because of increasing money within a shorter period, that we can see there can be changes in the overall demand. So the money increases, so the people's purchasing power is increasing, so that people going to demand more goods. So because of the supply side factors are not going to change in the short term basis, that we can see there is pressure on the prices to go up. So that's how it works. So now you can understand, okay, if there is more money, the purchasing power is high. So that we can understand, if we can control the money or the liquidity in the market, that central bank is issuing currency and notes and coins, basically it impact on the level of money supply or the liquidity in the market. But other than that, there are some other factors as well. But basically, reducing the availability of money or the liquidity in the market, what central bank can do? Central bank can lower the purchasing power. So accordingly, we can make the demand less, so that it will reduce the prices again, push the prices down. Likewise, it works. So that's how that monetary policy and inflation, that we can see the links in between these two. So the monetary policy can influence the inflation, because central bank can change the level of money supply, so that the purchasing power, so the demand. So when demand is low, the prices goes down, the general price level goes down. Okay, so likewise, that monetary policy, it focuses on actually the changes in prices driven by the aggregate demand. Okay, not because of that. You have to understand that the central bank is having the control over the money and also the demand side in the market, not the supply side. It is beyond the control of the central bank to change the supply side. Basically, the supply side factors are, they take some long time to change, and also we can see that in order to change the supply side factors, the policy levels, actually that monetary policy cannot do that much of things, but in the long run there can be some influence. But basically the fiscal policy is normally influence the supply side factors in an economy. Okay, so here the monetary policy, actually that by conducting the monetary policy, the central bank changes the price driven by the aggregate demand. That's why sometimes we can see, even though central bank is having control over the inflation, sometimes beyond the control, the prices can be changed. Because why? Sudden supply side shocks and all. Sometimes you know that weather conditions, these are the factors directly influence the supply side factors. So that even sometimes that across the borders of the country, yeah, that international price levels, so it increases the prices of the overall prices of the country. That nowadays that we are experiencing, in the future we have to experience it more and more, because we know that most of the countries, after the pandemic situation, some countries are reviving. So accordingly, that the global oil market prices will increase. Accordingly, that we also have to experience that overall prices of the country will increase, because there is an impact, right? That transportation, production, these all are related with the prices, right? So prices of the oil, so that we have to expect that. Okay, so that's how it works. So that monetary policy and inflation. So here I have mentioned these factors. If people have more money, they tend to feel wealthier. When you have more money, that normally we know that there is a feeling that for you to spend more. But when you have less money, that always you there is no that much of enthusiasm for you to spend money. Or if you have more money, that you need to have that feeling that you are wealthier, so you can spend. So that's how that you are going to demand. Okay, so that reducing the availability of money or liquidity, so you can, that the central bank can influence the people's demand. So likewise, there is increasing supply of money. There is a trend for the prices, okay, to go up. So that you can understand, if there is no proper management over the money supply, what will happen? It is not good. So you can see that the price movements, that sometimes that there can be high volatilities. Okay, so that if there is no proper management over the money supply, it will not give you the price stability. So in order to achieve that objectives, that central bank needs to manage the money supply. So that's why that monetary policy is important. If inflation is a monetary phenomenon associated with the volume of money or liquidity, the level of money supply has to be maintained to achieve and sustain a desired inflation rate. So that's what we already discussed. So now you can understand the relationship between the monetary policy, money, and inflation. Okay, so the central bank empowered with tools to conduct monetary policy to maintain price stability with prudent monetary management. So that's what we are going to discuss under the next topic. Okay, so that here it is again a definition. The monetary policy is the process by which a central bank manages the supply and the cost of money. So here you can see not only the supply but also the cost of money. So I think that okay, we'll tell you that supply is the quantity of money. Okay, but the cost of the money is what? That it is the interest rate. So that central bank can either change the supply of money, the level of money available in the market, and also the cost of money. The central bank can, under the monetary policy, even central bank can change the policy rates. So accordingly, market interest rates also will be changed. So it is actually the cost of money. So we are going to discuss in detail under the next topic. So anyhow, the monetary policy, that central bank, under the monetary policy, that central bank can change the supply and the cost of the money. Okay, so that's how the central bank is going to achieve that objective of price stability. Okay, so here this is basically about the monetary policy framework. So okay, so that at present central bank conducts monetary policy in line with the flexible inflation targeting framework. Before that, central bank conduct the monetary policy in line with the monetary targeting framework. Okay, now it is flexible inflation targeting framework. Okay, the aim is stabilizing the inflation at a mid-single yes. So now we are going to discuss about the monetary policy framework. I hope that now you can see. Okay, so here that I told you that at present the central bank conducts monetary policy in line with the flexible inflation targeting, which is called FIT framework. Okay, before that we had the monetary, yes, it is called monetary targeting framework. Okay, so under this new framework, the aim is to stabilizing the inflation at mid-single digit level over the medium term, while supporting economic growth to reach its potential. I hope that you remember, I think we started this discussion giving the mission statement of the central bank that you saw in the mission statement. Actually, those key objectives are focusing ultimately, these all objectives of the central banks are focusing to prosper the economic growth of the country at its potential level. So you know the difference, that potential level means that it is actually that, but we know that the currently we are not functioning at the potential level, but we know that the potential level is higher than the real level of growth in an economy. So anyhow, that central bank's objective is under the monetary policy is to maintain the inflation at a mid-single digit level. That at the moment that even we can go and see in the website. So it is around 6 now. So in the past year that we saw that inflation was around 5% or less than that. Let me show you. Yeah, now according to the NCPI, National Consumer Price Index, it is around 6.8% now. But very recently that we can observe that inflation has started to, okay, we'll show you. Okay, I try to share the screen with you so you will see that, okay. So here you can see, I hope that you can see the central bank website, the consumer price inflation that have shared the site interface with you. So you can see the trend of inflation. Now it is around 6.8 according to the National Consumer Price Index. So, but under the monetary policy, actually that here you can see the changes. So you can see in 2021 how the inflation has been changed over time. So you can see at the beginning of this year, it was around 3.5. So actually the focus of the central bank is to maintain it at a mid-single level, means around 5.5 like that. But now you can see there is an increasing trend according to the NCPI, okay. But according to the Colombo Consumer Price Index, it is at here the core inflation is our that there is a difference between the headline inflation and the core inflation again. We use inflation based on the National Consumer Price Index headline inflation. That's why that in the website also, in the home page, that we have indicated inflation as 6.8. So you can see there is an increasing. That's why central bank has tightened up the monetary policy recently. So we have to now we have to start controlling inflation, right? So that's why, or otherwise that we cannot. We have to start off controlling. Still, that normally that inflation is that when we take the overall economic conditions, inflation sometimes a good indicator to boost the economic activities, right? When there are high price levels, that producers are trying to produce more. Likewise, that we can boost the economic activity. Bank is tight the monetary policy because you know that when you use the control in the future means that it is difficult again, okay. So now you can see this is what I just wanted to show you. So let's go back to the presentation. So oopsie, what's happening? Okay, so I recommend you to before the exam, when the exam is, where is it? Okay, hope that the screen is coming. Okay, hope that you can see the. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so okay, now you can see that that's why that central bank has to change the monetary policy stance of the central bank because of that changing trend in the inflation. So you can see that aim actually that at the beginning of the year, central bank issued the roadmap for the year. So in that roadmap, central bank communicate the targets, inflation targets, so that people, that rational people, that they are following the forecast of the central bank, because that when the central bank at the beginning of the year, central bank communicate the people that the inflation is going to be maintained at this level. So the responsibility of the central bank is to maintain. It is the responsibility of the central bank to maintain as mentioned at the beginning of the year. Central bank is doing. So now we can see that central bank has promised to maintain it at mid-single digit levels, so that accordingly central bank is changing the monetary policy. So that's what is happening under the flexible inflation targeting framework. Okay, so yeah, in terms of operational aspects of this framework, so when it comes to the operational level, okay, can you please mute the mic? Oh, one is unmuted the mic. Can you please mute the mic? Okay, so under the inflation targeting framework, okay, when it comes to the operational level, central bank use its policy instrument to guide short-term interest rates, so that we are going to discuss about the policy instruments under the next topic, right? You will see that there are open market operations are there, policy interest rates are there. Likewise, there are different type of policy instruments are there. Anyhow, under this framework, the central bank use all the policy instruments to guide the short-term interest rates. Okay, so that what are the short-term interest rates? That then you have to know what are the short-term interest rates. So you know that when we classified the financial markets, that we see that there are money markets and the capital markets. So in the money market, that we normally know that the most short-term market is the interbank overnight call money market. So that which is I think again that we can discuss about these markets in the next topic, because we have to we are going to see the operations of this market. But I think under the monetary and money and monetary policy subject, that you will see everything in detail that they have to discuss. But here, this is not the time to discuss everything. But anyhow, short-term interest rate means that actually it is basically refers to the overnight call money markets, where the banks are interact with the other banks to meet their short-term liquidity positions. Okay, so there is a place which is called that interbank call money market. The banks are having transactions to meet their to manage their short-term liquidity positions. So in that market, we can see it is the most shortest term of interest rates that we can see. So that's why that by using the policy instruments, basically that there are two type of instruments that we can see. Standard deposit facility rate and standard lending facility rates are the two policy instruments the central bank use. So particularly central bank use these instruments to guide the short-term interest rates, particularly the average weighted call money rate as the operating target. So it is the operating target under this framework, where this average weighted call money rate is the interest rate determined in the by the interactions between the commercial banks in the overnight call money market. Okay, so it is actually the operating target. Okay, so before the central bank is started to conduct the flexible inflation targeting framework, before adopt that framework, central bank was conducted the monetary policy within an enhanced monetary policy framework with features of both monetary targeting and inflation. Earlier, it was the monitoring targeting framework. Then the new one is the flexible inflation targeting framework. In the transition period, that we can see that central bank conducted these two frameworks together. Okay, that central bank wanted to change into the flexible inflation targeting framework, but suddenly it cannot do because sometimes when you are going to just adapt into a new system or the new framework, sometimes there can be some misalignments or will give some bad impact or influence to the overall activities of the economy. So that in this transition period that we can see central bank conducted the both frameworks together. So under the before that it was the monetary targeting framework. In that framework, monetary targets become the key nominal anchor in conduct of monetary policy. So that at that time, under that monetary targeting framework, central bank announced that the monetary targets during the year, not like the inflation, that under the inflation targeting framework, central bank aim is to stabilize the inflation. So earlier it was not like that. Okay, so that there were monetary targets, they were nominal anchor. The changes in the monetary policies are considered as primary causal factors affecting price stability. So that anyhow that we can see changes in the money supply, it gives the basic factors. Okay, so anyhow that whatever the policy framework, the ultimate objective is to change the money supply. So it will influence the price stability. Okay, so the money supply has to be reduced if there is a inflation rate is expected to be higher than the desired rate. That's what in the current environment we can experience. As I show you that we can see there is a we have to expect that there is a higher inflation rate in the future, that we saw that upward trend was there. So likewise that money supply should be reduced. That's why central bank tied up the monetary policy, increase all the policy interest rate. So we will discuss later how it is going to impact on money supply. Okay, so the money supply has to be expanded if the inflation is expected to be lower than the desired level. That's what was happened during the pandemic. So you can even see that when you go to the website of the central bank, even you can open whatever the previous time inflation press releases, that you can see the trend again. There was a lower trend there. So that at that time, and also we saw that almost all the economic activities were stagnated at that time. So we need to pump more money into boost the economic activities. Then people started to buy and produce. Likewise, that's why during the pandemic situation, central banks want to increase the money supply. Okay, because at that time, in order to increase the money supply, because of that low inflation condition, always help central bank to facilitate the other economic activities by increase the money supply. At that time, we saw there was no any inflationary pressure. Luckily, we had no such experience of inflation. So that's how central bank could increase the money supply, or central bank can conduct very easy monetary policy. That central bank expand the money supply. Given the rising volatility in the money multiplier and velocity, aim a weakening relationship between money supply and the inflation. The role of monetary target as a nominal anchor has become uncertain and also complicated the central bank's communication strategy. So here this statement is also very important to explain why central bank has to adopt that new monetary policy framework, why central bank has to go for a flexible inflation targeting framework. Okay, why it was not adequate enough to have that monetary targeting framework? The answer is this. Okay, in sometimes in the past papers I saw that it also have been asked, right? But I think now that central bank I will tell you, when central bank started to implement this new framework, not very recently, now some times ago, but at that time it was a very popular question, why central bank has to change into a new policy framework. The reason is this, not like in the history or the past, now the velocity of money. What is the velocity? Hope that you may have heard, and the money that you may have learned. But anyhow, that it is the frequency of a unit of money or the unit of a currency note is used for a purchase during a time period within a nation. Okay, that the frequency of a 1 unit of currency is used for purchasing of goods and services within a country within a given period of time. So that means like that one currency note is going to one hand to another hand, like in a particular period, how many times that it is going to pass on hand to hand. It is the velocity. So that we can say that it is the velocity, and the money multiplier is another thing. But yeah, first let's say the velocity, that now we can say that velocity of money is now change. Okay, and also that we know that earlier that we can just get an idea about that, but today that there are different type of payment and settlement instruments are there, and also that market and the commercial activities are more complicated. Accordingly, that it is very difficult to have an idea about the velocity. And the money multiplier is, not sure whether you have heard, but under that money and monetary policy, definitely you must learn about the money multiplier under the money concept of money, because money multiplier is relating to the credit creation process of the licensed commercial banks, right? So that basically when we take the money supply, it is just not the money physically that issued by the central bank. Why I'm telling that, that in addition to that, when it comes to the M2B, that road money supply, that we can see bank money also included there, which is why it is called bank money, based on the demand deposits that the commercial bank is having with them. You know that in a simple language, okay, you know that only the licensed commercial bank is having that opportunity or the privilege to provide current account facilities for their customers. Okay, so when you have a current account, but only the licensed commercial banks can give that facility for their customers. Okay, so the licensed commercial banks only can create money as well based on the deposits on this current account. Okay, so how the in your bank, commercial bank, that you know what is the facility you are having, that you can issue checks, but you know that the limit of the checks that you can issue, it is not limited to the balance in the account. You have that overdraft facilities for the customers based on their the credit worthiness and all, that the commercial banks, they are allocating some overdraft facilities. There are some limitations, and also you know that all the customers are not they are not going to be provided with the current account facilities. Only some prime customers only can have that facility, especially the business people, that we know that they can have current account facilities based on their cash flows that commercial bank consider. to give them that facility with the overdraft facility. So that with the overdraft facility, that customer, he can issue checks. So the checks are also highly liquid asset like cash. So when the people are accepting checks as well in the same way that you accept cash. So in addition to cash, now in the money supply, that cash, that checks are also there. So using checks also that you can demand something, so that it is also increase the money supply. And also today, in addition to that, we know that the credit card also there. Even you are not having any balance in your bank, even you have some credit, there is a limit, but still that you can purchase goods and services. Likewise, that we can see today that that's why this new monetary policy framework has been used by the central bank, given the rising velocity and money multiplier and velocity in weakening relationship between money supply and the inflation. So earlier I told you the relationship between the money supply and the inflation. Money supply, when increase the money supply, purchasing power increase, so the demand increase, so the inflation increase. Likewise, but earlier it was easy for the central bank to see the link in between the money supply and the inflation. When central bank issue currency or money, that central bank know the money that central bank has an idea about the money multiplier. How many times that the base money can be increased. Okay, so that based on the money that inject or increased by the central bank or supply by the central bank, that commercial bank can create money. So likewise, that money multiplier gives you an idea how many times that central bank, commercial banks can create credit, or how many times that this money is going to be multiplied, the base money. Okay, so it is an idea, but because of that complexity in the current environment, it is very difficult to understand how much it will increase the overall money supply based on the reserve money of the central bank. So that's what the overall idea. So that's why the role of monetary targets as a nominal anchor has become uncertain and also complicated the central bank's communication strategy. So that's why that central bank has to move in that new strategy or the framework, because because of that rising velocity and money multiplier, it was very difficult for the central bank to use the monetary aggregate as the nominal anchor. So under the monetary targeting framework, central bank always keep that that monetary targets the nominal anchor. But when it is very difficult to have the overall idea about the money supply because of these factors, it is very difficult central bank to communicate the that at the beginning of the year central bank communicates, no, these are the monetary targets of the year, but because of that it is not going to work in the same way central bank expected. That's what the key reason for this transmission, okay, from monetary targeting framework to inflation targeting framework. I hope that you will learn this in more detail under that key subject or the compulsory subject of money and monetary policy. Under this subject that you will learn more why it was needed. Okay, so that, okay. So again, this is about the monetary policy framework. Under the flexible inflation targeting framework, central bank currently use average weighted call money rate as its operating target instead of reserve money. So earlier it was the reserve money. Now it is the average weighted call money rate. Average weighted call money rate means that during a particular day that that interest rates are changing, but the average weighted rate is take as the rate. So that central bank is targeting that rate to that rate actually, that central bank monetary policy is conducting to change that average rate in the call money market. That's what under the flexible inflation targeting framework central bank is doing. However, although the central bank does not announce any monetary targets explicitly, broad money supply remains the key indicative intermediate variable to guide monetary money supply. So it is still there, but central bank is not going to announce it like it was done under the monetary targeting framework, but still that it is a key indicative intermediate variable to guide the monetary policy. So central bank internally that it use as the intermediate variable, but that you can see that operating target is now has been changed. Okay, so the next one is central bank conducts it open market operation. I think this one is no need to discuss in detail here because we are going to discuss under the next topic. I already mentioned you under the open market operation is open market operations is one of the tools of the central bank under the monetary policy framework. So there we can see standard deposit facility rate and standard lending facility rate. So these are called the policy rates. Okay, so that what the central bank is doing, these policy rates are changed time to time. That very recently that I told you, central bank changed the stance of the monetary policy, so it has been increased to tie up the monetary policy. The policy rates are periodically reviewed and adjusted appropriately if necessary to guide the interest rate structure of the economy with the view to achieve the desired path of inflation. So here you can see one more thing that we already discussed now that money supply, purchasing power and demand and inflation, the relationships in between those variables, right? But at the same time, I told you under the monetary policy, not only the volume of money supply, okay, but also the cost. Cost is the interest rate in the market. So that's why that policy rates are changing. Okay, so that I will explain you how it relate with the game. Very simple way, okay. If there is a high interest rate, okay, that you are not going to obtain money from the banking system, but instead that you tend to save money. Okay, so that when there is a high interest rate is high, that demand for money is lower, means that you are not going to keep money in your hand, instead that you are going to save money somewhere or invest money somewhere, because why? You can have high returns. Okay, so when the interest rate is high, the cost of money is high, so even that you are not going to borrow money from banks. So then what will happen? Automatically demand will decrease, because that there is no more money in your hand, because you save money in the banks or invest somewhere in order to have more returns. That you are going to sacrifice your consumption needs, instead that you can realize as a rational person that you are going to invest it somewhere to have good returns. Okay, like in the same way that the policy rates are really low, it is not worth to invest, but it is worth to consume, because if you are not going to consume today, even you can invest in some durable goods. Okay, so that in that sense that you can have some more returns than you are going to invest in somewhere. So likewise, when there is a low interest rate, there is a tendency for you to spend more. Okay, that is what the relationship in between the interest rate and the demand and the inflation, right? Hope that you can understand. Any question up to now? That we discuss some theoretical aspects of the monetary policy as well under the discussion. Any problem? Can you all understand everything that I am telling you, or what? You cannot understand anything at all? Okay, anything that you need me to explain more, please let me know. Okay, so, okay, now it is 5:10. Yeah, we have more time to move. Okay, so then we are going to discuss about the financial system of stability. Okay, so what is the financial system of stability? Let's go and see what it is. Okay, so now we are going to discuss why the stable financial system is needed. So we all know that today's environment, it is extremely difficult to think of doing anything having involvement of any financial institutions, right? We all, if you are an employer, that employee or employer, that you know that you need to have accounts in a bank, okay, in order to have your salary, or in order to transfer the money for the people work under your supervision, like that. So that both sides, that they need to have the facility or the involvement of the financial institutions. Okay, so basically we know that we all have to use financial services of, in basically in businesses, that definitely we need to have the service of the financial services. Okay, uh, so that why that these institutions, they are handling our cash flows, even though we are not business people, even as consumers. Okay, so that the banks are actually helping us to manage with our cash flow. But when we use financial institution, if we have the confidence about their safety, okay, uh, why? Because we need to have that confidence, no, to be, our money is safe in their hands. Okay, if the confidence level is very low, or the confidence is very weak, what will happen? People moving away from the financial institutions. Okay, so that it could impact badly to the economic activities. And also, again, it will result slow down in the economic activities, because why? Always that these institutions are helping to mobilize financial resources. As an individual person, that we are going to save our excess cash in the bank, but they are not going to be idle in the bank, no. That the banks, what their role is as the mediator. Okay, so that they are actually providing an intermediary service, where they are going to collect all the excess funds from the savers. So there is a pool of funds, so they are just going to borrow those funds for the deficit units. So that we know, through their service, actually what they are doing, they are help mobilizing the financial resource among the economic agents. So it is supporting to the economic activities. As an example, for a business person, that it is not enough to use his own money to start his business. So he has to borrow money from an institution. Okay, so that if people are not having the trust in the financial institutions, that we are not going to put our savings, so that how that person is going to have money to start with his business. Likewise, that we can see, even though when there is no secure place for us to keep our savings or the excess money, again we are also in trouble. So that's why, and also that when we are going to deposit our money, that even we can have a return, right? When you are going to hide that money under mattress or somewhere, that you cannot have that interest return. So it is again also a loss. And also that normally we know that individual level or at a smaller scale, purposes that we can even borrow from our friend or a relative or a parent, but when your need is at high level, where you need to have a very huge amount of money, large amount of money, that definitely that you have to go and borrow from a financial institution. So that's why it is very vital to have a very financially sound financial system or the institution in a nation, in in the economy. Okay, but sometimes that we can see in some countries that some institutions, financial institutions, that people completely lost the trust or the confidence on their financial institution. Because especially due to impact of global financial and economic crisis, in some countries that we can see some experiences. So that likewise that we can understand now that both price stability and financial stability are very important macroeconomic conditions. So both of these stabilities, they are required for smooth functioning of the overall economic activities of the country, or otherwise that country cannot perform to achieve that sustainable growth momentum. Okay, so it is about that. So here I have mentioned everything. You can see that the role of the bank as an act of channeling money in different form among different sectors of the economy. So when there is no trust, it will impact. Okay, so that's why the central bank has that responsibility, and also that legal authority has been given to the central bank to supervise and regulate bank and other financial institutions. So under the activities of the bank supervision department and department of supervision of non-bank financial institutions, that we saw that there are different type of measures are implemented by these different departments of the central bank to achieve this responsibility. Okay, so always that central banks to ensure that these institutions are sound and stable. And also we saw that in addition to these two departments, we saw that macroprudential surveillance department also was there to check the overall system stability, systemic risk. We discuss about that department as well. So now you can see how much important that financial system stability in a country. So again, in the same way that we discuss about the price stability, the financial system stability also refer to the general perception of the people with respect to the financial soundness and stability of an institution. Right? So if people feel that this institution is not trustworthy, that it can be spreaded. Okay, so that these institutions are financially sound and operationally efficient, then only people feel that their money is under the custody of a financial institution that are safe, and or otherwise that they are not going to save until they feel that their money is safe. They are going to keep their money under the custody of this the financial institution, and also they expect that this much of return I should receive at the maturity. Okay, but if one cannot trust that, we have experienced very recently also some of the non-bank financial institutions collapsed in the country. So at that time, what happened? Okay, so that public trust is crucial. At that time, actually, people started to ask whether this institution is trustworthy, that one is like, people started to ask from the central bankers, my money is there in this bank. What do you think? What will happen to this bank? Will this bank also in trouble? Like that, people started to ask. That's why people always need that trust. That is very crucial for the existence and smooth operations or the functioning of the overall system. Okay, so here you can see the again a kind of a definition for the financial system stability, where a state in which the institution in financial systems are sound, resistant to shock, and fit to function smoothly to cater to the financial needs of the economic agents. So that we saw there are under the Basel III activities that there is a particular supervision framework is there, which is called the Basel III. Now we are implemented the Basel III framework, so that we can see that capital adequacy ratio is there, NPL levels ratios are there. Likewise, that different type of criteria are there given by the central banks for the banking institutions to be complied with, so that always central bank is monitor whether these banks are operating accordingly. If one of the institution is not complied, there are some actions against that bank or the institution, so that central bank can ensure. But time to time that we can see some institutions, although there are supervisory or the regulatory framework is there, sometimes some institutions that they can do something and tell something else or show something else. That's how some of the institutions collapsed actually, that they did not show what actually they are doing. So some project activities were there. So at that time, central bank, even though central bank supervise the activities, but sometimes cannot see any vulnerabilities. Okay, so that's how it can happen. Okay, but always when there are any threat like that, central bank is going to update the regulatory mechanism and also tied up the supervisory frameworks and all to mitigate any risks to be faced by the financial institutions. Okay. Okay, so why the financial system stability is important? Why it is important? Let's see why. People use services of financial institutions for handling cash flows. Only if we are confident about the safety, only we are going to use such institution. If the confidence is weak, the people will move away from the financial institutions. Okay, so the many economies, okay, I think that we already discussed the same points, that in some countries that we can see under some special conditions, like impact of global financial, at the time of global financial crisis and also some other economic crisis. So we saw that some banks were, or the system were completely collapsed because of that lack of trust of people. Okay, the next one is the payment and settlement system. Why it is important? That we already discussed about the two systems, that monetary system and financial system. With respect to the monetary system, that we discussed why the price stability is important, why that central bank should conduct the monetary policy to maintain the security and efficiency of the monetary system, okay, by changing the money supply. And under the financial system also, that we saw there are different type of activities are there carried out by the central bank to ensure the stability in the overall financial system. So, and also I mentioned you that the central bank is the regulator of the payment and settlement system of the country. Again, accordingly, that central bank has to ensure the security and also the efficiency of the payment and settlement system in the country as well. Okay, so let me check. Okay, so that actually that payment and settlement system, it is a part of the financial system. In the overall financial system that we can see, there are different entities. Financial intermediaries are there, financial markets are there, regulators are there, and the economic agents are there who are having the facilities from those institutions, and the system that system of payment and settlement is like the platform where facilitate all the transactions among these entities. Okay, so that normally we can see almost all the type of economic activities, let's say that exchange of goods and services. Okay, so from producers that we are going to purchase goods and services to the markets, and also factor services where that producer is going to produce something using different type of factors, right? The labor is there, land is there, the buildings is there, then some they have to hire some people. So likewise that factor services are also there, and some assets also there. They have to borrow money from banks, or sometimes that they have to issue share to increase their different type of all the activities, economic activities engage with exchange of different type of goods, services, factor services, or the assets, different type of exchange that we can see. So any type of this exchange, right? So that it needs to have a corresponding payment and settlement. That when you are going to buy something, that we know that there is a payment settlement component is also there. Okay, so likewise that very effective and reliable payment system, payment and settlement system, again it is needed, right? So that you know that when you are going to maintain a bank account, right? So when you are going to use that bank account, right, that there is a system in place that you cannot touch it, but always that even the within the banks, right, and also among the merchants and the bank, like that we can see different type of links are there to facilitate the payment and settlement needs of the people. These needs are associated with our day-to-day activities. So that in this situation that we can understand, especially when you are going to do a business, how much it is need to have the service of the payment and settlement system. Even as a consumer also, that you can experience that today that we are not actually use only the basic means of payment. This is the cash, but there are different mode of instruments that we are using instead of cash, credit cards, e-cash, that even we are using e-wallets today. So likewise that different type of tools that we are using other than the cash. So especially when we are using cash, that we can physically see how the payment and settlement parts are transaction. Okay, so when you are going to go to the market, that you can see, but when you are going to use your credit card, that you cannot see, right? So that basically that you have to believe in the system in place for the payment and settlement, because at the time of that you are paying, that you have to believe the system in place where that the amount from your bank, that if it is a debit card, that particular amount is going to be debited from your account, and you must have the trust, right? on the system in place in order to use your debit card. Even with the credit card also, that you have to have that feel of trust, or otherwise that you still, we can see some people are not going to use the ATM machines. Why? That they are not having that confidence, that they should know, they can't believe that this machine can give me the value that I need, or even though I'm going to put the numbers at, let's say, that 1,000, that some people are, they are still in Sri Lanka, people think that this machine is not going to give me the amount that I need. Instead, that it will give me a half of the amount and someone else can take the other half, but that my account will be debited. So this is that real story that we heard when we conducted a survey, why people are reluctant to use ATMs, that in the rural areas, that even we can see that people are not having that trust because of the lack of education here, not because of any efficiency in the systems, but likewise that it can happen if people have know that it is purely because of the lack of understanding or the awareness, not because of the lack of trust. But if people have no trust, the same thing can happen, right? Because today with the digital innovations, that the people, we are using different type of money, not only the cash or the currency notes and coins. So with that, we know the importance of having a efficient and reliable payments and settlement system. So when there is a very efficient and secure system in place, that it is really important, and its benefit almost all the activities of the economy. Okay, so that is why it is important. So in order to maintain that efficiency or the security of the payment and settlement system, that I told you, there is a specific department, payment and settlement department in the central bank. So being the regulator, always issue new regulations. Time to time, these payment and settlement systems are upgrading, and with that upgradation, that all the regulations should be issued to the stakeholders. Nowadays, we know that not only the commercial banks or the other financial institutions, sometimes that mobile service providers are also take part in these payment and settlement systems in order to facilitate with mobile money, right? And also we know that there is a that in the recent past, or at present also, that we know that normally there is no possibility for us to visit the bank in person, but we always try to use online banking facilities. So in order to facilitate all these new kind of requirement, that central bank has to issue regulations and also supervise the overall system to make it more efficient and reliable. So that's how that central bank is facilitating the overall economic activities of the country. Okay, so yeah, this is what we have to discuss under this topic. So I hope that you can understand now. Basically, because of the two objectives of maintaining two objectives of the central bank, how these two objectives are facilitating the economy, or how those responsibilities of the central bank impact on the overall economic activities of the country. So when we are going to discuss about the monetary policy, I hope that you will learn more about the impact of the monetary policy operations. And also later on, that we are going to discuss about the recent policy measures that have been taken by the central bank to address the current health crisis. So at that time also, that you can see how they have been impact on the revival of the economic activities of the country. So likewise, that we can continue with our discussion. Thank you so much for the day that we have done with the topic. Thank you so much for listening.